This is the Recruit the Employer podcast, and you're listening to episode 91, How to Dress for the Job That You Want. Welcome to the Recruit the Employer podcast, a show for the ambitious, action-oriented career woman who wants to live out her purpose, rise to the top of her industry, and be seen as a leader at work. In 30 minutes or less, we'll walk you through the latest strategies to land your dream job, blast through imposter syndrome, and make the money you deserve. I'm your host, Jena Viviano, ex-Wall Streeter turned career coach and founder of Recruit the Employer. But more importantly, I'm on a mission to help you fall in love with your work again. So grab a glass of wine, get ready to be coached, and tune in to your weekly boost of career confidence. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Recruit the Employer. Today is a really fun episode. We are going to take a step back from giving you strategies around your job search, and we are going to dive into what it looks like to brand yourself visually as it relates to your style. And I brought on my friend, Monica, style consultant, a stylist and image consultant, where she's going to be walking us through. You're going to hear our conversation talking about what is a visual resume, how do first impressions and why do first impressions matter, and how you can leverage that to your advantage, whether you're interviewing or in a meeting or giving a presentation. She walks us through our prints good, our colors bad. She even talks a little bit about buying sustainably. It's a really fun conversation. You're going to love her energy. So we're going to get to that in a couple minutes. But I just want to remind you that Network to Hire, the workshop, our 5-day signature workshop, is launching again on the end of February, so February 22nd, and you can find out more information about that 5-day workshop. It is such a fun time. We did it in January. We had some amazing women in the program. It is a free 5-day workshop, no strings attached, but I want you to hear a testimonial from one of the women in the program. And here's what she said. She reached out to me and said this after going through the 5-day workshop. She said, "Thank you so much for the time and effort you took last week to offer a specific and valuable set of networking tips. Prior to finding your class, I had already identified the companies I wanted to work for and started to network. I wasn't getting many connections and wasn't getting responses to what I felt like were targeted messages. After I finished your class, I implemented your method and connected and received a response within 1 day from an executive in my number one company, the company she wanted to be a part of. I'm very hopeful for my continued efforts using all of your suggestions. Thank you so much." So if you're looking for that type of result, if you're like, my networking strategy is not really working, I know I need to do it, we are going to do a 5-day workshop on it. So we would love to see you. You can head on over to recruittheemployer.com/workshop to check that out. Enroll in there, and it is a 5-day live workshop. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to making sure that you find success. And we're just really excited. It was so successful last time. Who is it for? Because some of you are asking that question. I saw it on social media, on LinkedIn. And really, it is designed for my female leaders, my women that make over $100,000. And the reason why we do that isn't because we're like, women who make less than $100,000 can't join. It's more just around the level in which the women that are in the program, in the free workshop, can relate to one another based off of where they are in their career. So it's more about inviting women that are a certain leadership level into the conversation to network with one another, because there's a lot of conversations for people that are entry level and a lot of conversations for people that are executive level, but there's really not any conversation or place for women that make about over $100,000 to about $250 to $300. And so we just wanted to create that space for them. So if that sounds like you and you're interested in learning more, go to recruittheemployer.com/workshop to sign up for the next workshop. I cannot wait to meet you. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Monica. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Recruit the Employer podcast. It is my great pleasure to bring to you today Monica Barnett, who is going to be talking to us all about style, about a visual resume. But let me give you a little bit of a history on her, a little bio, if you will. So she has over 11 years of formal personal styling and image consulting experience with over 125 clients. She is the real deal. She's worked with entrepreneurs. She's worked with executives. She's been featured in so many different magazines and publications, Washington Post, Huffington Post, Real Simple, Essence.com. She even has a book, y'all, Without Saying a Word, The Silent Power of Style. It's a guidebook. It's already sold over 1,000 copies. She is the queen of the blueprint for style. And she has this wardrobe and styling and consulting company that assists individuals like you and me in creating a consistent and fluent looks that conveys class along with the effortless and sophisticated style. And she also does some professional development seminars. And we're just so happy to have you here today. Monica, I love your Instagram. Can we just start there?
Yes, let's start there. First of all, I have been working so hard on my Instagram. So I'm so excited that you like it. Instagram is fun for two reasons, I think. And normally you're supposed to say three. It's the consultant in me always says everything.
Yeah.
But for two reasons, especially. Number one, it's purely a visual platform. So yummy on the visual platform. And I think I'm starting to realize that. And I'll tell you how and why later. And then the second thing I love is it's just an opportunity to touch so many people. And that sounds wrong as I'm saying it, but you know what I mean? It's an opportunity to just reach out to so many people and give so many people like what's in my head.
Yeah. And your content is very, I enjoy going to your page. There's a lot of content out there now that's a lot of the same. And I love your content because I feel like it's different in the style sector. And it actually gives me really practical things. And I'm like, oh, I could see myself wearing that. Oh, that's a good piece of advice. So it's a mixture of your personality. And I really don't love Instagram. So the fact that I love your, profile says a lot.
And honestly, quite frankly, that's the biggest compliment I can have is because I sat there and I was like, I'm not doing outfit of the day. I was like, first of all, I don't get dressed every day. I was like, that's not going to work. I was like, and I don't like outfit of the day. So I'm like, my pain is not your pain.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that doesn't work. But I can tell you some awesome pieces that every wardrobe should have because of this reason, or if you have X, Y, and Z. And to me, that's what style is, right? Style is how you take that fashion and make it personal. So I love Instagram for that. And I just love to be able to share. So you're going to see polls on there and my stories. You're going to see, hey, I got this. You should try this if you do X, Y, and Z. I'm big on closet purging what I call is style realignment. So it's just a lot.
Yeah.
I love it, love it, love it.
And I love that you specialize. And the reason why we're talking today too, is because you really specialize in helping that elevated professional individual, right? You've been in personal styling and image consulting for a while. So we're going to get into kind of some ideas of what people can do to elevate their wardrobe. But I just got to take a step back though. Did you always do this?
No. Okay.
Tell us a little bit. People like to hear stories about how people got to where they got to.
Oh, okay. So this is fun. And I'm going to force you guys, everyone who's listening, to go back and listen. I did this 4-part Instagram series on how I got in, how I found my love for personal styling. And what you will hear is that it started when I was 10 years old.
Oh.
And it started when I was 10 years old. And in my second book, which is The Creative's Closet, you will find this story. And it's the first chapter that sets the tone. And it says that I got into this battle royale with my mother at the time. And part of that was just the beginning of me developing, I guess, my love, not just for fashion, but really for how clothing made you feel, what it did for you, what it did for your status. Because for me in school, what it did for my status.
Sure.
And I talk about how I fell in love with these navy blue, thin-wailed corduroy pants. And I was like, it was on after that. And so that's really where my love of personal styling came from. Yeah, I like fashion. And I think people get it twisted, especially men who are like, oh my God, I don't need any fashion. I don't need any better clothes. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not just about clothes. It's really what the clothes do for you, what the accessories do for you, how bringing it together can or cannot work for you. So there's a little more than the fashion piece. But I just remind people that fashion in general is a $3 trillion industry. And
for a reason.
Lest we walk around naked, it matters. So at the end of the day, you may call it superfluous or, whatever, but at the end of the day, it actually matters.
It makes you feel good. I'm about to be posting something, and by the time this airs, y'all might see it on my Instagram, where I posted like these 3 selfies of me in a dressing room being like, remember the days when we went to dressing rooms and those terrible fluorescent lights? Like, remember when that was a thing? Yes. Okay. I kind of miss that a little bit because I do think that clothing, I know for myself, when I was interviewing, so let's just even using interviewing, right? Yeah. I was interviewing for an investment banking job. Everybody was a sea of black suits. And I chose intentionally to wear a light gray suit with maybe softer colors and I have a portfolio that had color because 1, it made me feel good. And 2, I wanted to be memorable. And so I used clothing almost as a strategic differentiation factor. Whether that actually worked or not, I'm not sure, but I think that it did. Yeah, I think that it did. I would be that girl that wore a cheetah print on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange or like a plain blazer because I was like, that's me. It makes me feel good. I feel like I look different and that was important to me. So talk to us a little bit about, you talk a lot about a visual resume. What is a visual resume? Because I very much resonated with that. I was like, resume, tell me more.
Yeah, so I like pithy terms. So it is a little bit of a pithy term, but it is really, your visual resume is how you show up to the world. It is your personal style and how you have curated your personal style. And I say how you have curated your personal style because it's not just to say, ooh, I love stuff that has cheetah print and that's my style, like sassy. Right. That's not your visual resume. Your visual resume is something that is an accumulation of all these tangibles and intangibles. It is your personal style package, absolutely, your dress, but it's also how you present when you show up to somebody. It is your eye contact, right? It is how you sit up or you don't sit up. It is your gait. It is your ability to articulate your actual resume and experience. Your visual resume is a lot of what people say about you when you're not around. It is really, and I think it's a noun. I don't know, but I think it's a noun. And I chuckle because, laugh at this, I chuckle, sidebar, because visual resume is, I think, almost in the process of being trademarked. It's almost finished. We're done trademarking.
Nice. Yeah, that's a process. Congratulations.
Yes. Fun and not. But one of the questions, they're just like, what is it? Tell us. Give us the 6 layers down from it. So I guess I had to know what it was. So I was like, I guess it's a noun. Yeah. But visual resume, it really is just how you show up to the world and that personal style package and all those little intangibles that come around to it. And every person needs to nail their visual resume. And I will say this, I find that the people that have nailed their visual resume are the people that are the most confident, the most pulled together, find it the easiest to get ready in a couple minutes and get out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I would say that it also probably encompasses in your personal brand. Like it's all a part of your personal brand, how you show up in, and we talk about personal branding a lot, specifically in the job search process. When you're showing up to maybe a position that like for a job that you really want, that's maybe a leadership level above, and you need to dress for the, they always say dress for the job that you want. Like, I do think that's a very, very true term. And let's talk a little bit about the power of first impressions. I know that you talk a lot about that, and I think this all incorporates into your visual resume. So share with me a little bit about why you think first impressions matter and how that translates to what you're wearing.
Oh God. See, okay. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to interrupt me. Okay. Because this is something that I can talk about for hours, literally hours. Here's the hopefully the pared down version of it. We form the first impression in the first 7 to 17 seconds of meeting somebody. And so you have 7 to 17 seconds to make your statement to somebody. And it's without saying a word, which is the title of my first book. And the reason why I titled it that, because go a couple steps further, that first impression now takes 4.3 additional interactions to move, sway, influence, shift somebody off of that original first impression.
Wow.
That's how powerful that first impression is. That first impression I love because, again, 54% of your first impression is based purely on what somebody sees. That's it.
Doesn't that feel uncomfortable? People hate hearing that, though. I'm sure they're like, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair, but it is life. And
it is life. It's so true.
It's a socialization. It is something that we have partly, it's in part that we've gotten there through technology, but part of it is just how we are raised as human beings. It is something that, how about this? It's no different than you walking off a curb. And this is the example I use when I do training. You walking off a curb and you trip on the curb. You trip on the curb in the US because the average curb size is anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. If it's too high, you're like, oh my God, I stepped wrong. If it's too low, you're moving too quickly. It's something that is socialized and already indoctrinated in your brain. It's something that you can't actually disconnect with unconsciously. And your first impression is exactly that, right? It's no different than seeing some man who looks totally beat down, maybe look like a vagrant, and you've already drawn conclusions. You have drawn conclusions, say it good, bad, right, wrong, left. It doesn't matter, you've drawn conclusions. Take that same person and put a lab coat on him, and you've automatically drawn a different conclusion about him because he has a lab coat on. Is this a doctor? What? Totally different impression. That's the psychology of style. And what I teach on a lot is really the psychology of style and how you use it to your advantage. So the power of the first impression is simply that it is long lasting and that it is visual in nature and that it has very little to do with how it is what comes out of your mouth, because 92% of your first impression is based on nonverbal cues.
Yeah, nonverbal cues. We talk about that within interviewing. It's like you have to pay attention to those things because it does matter.
Absolutely. That's the power. You ask me what it is, that's the power of the first impression.
So when people are, and we have a lot of women that typically listen to this show, when women are thinking about almost like how to leverage that to their advantage, right? So we know that good, bad, or ugly, right? It's just how we're wired. So how do we take advantage of that? And what does that look like to own our personal style, to be like, okay, I know that first impressions matter. Now, how do I step up in the world and utilize that?
So I think I would love to say that it's very formulaic and here's the 2 things you do and woo, we're ready to roll.
Right.
But I do think that there are certain things you can do. So I think it's understanding the psychology behind the first impression. So from my perspective and where I take it is, let's perfect those 7 to 17 seconds you have. So for me, it is understanding your body as a piece of real estate, for example. And again, that's one piece. Real estate, what matters? Location, location, location.
Interesting. Tell me about that. What does that mean?
So when you put on all black and you put on a red belt, where does the eye go?
The red belt. That's like I would wear that. A lot of black and a little bit of color.
it goes to the red belt. When you put on an all black suit and you have on a string of pearls and you have on dark stockings and dark shoes, what happens to the eye? The eye just moves. It doesn't settle anywhere. It doesn't do anything. The power of the first impression is you need to visually capture me. You need to visually capture me where you need me to be. So if it's my midsection, fine. If you're wearing a deep V, you're catching me here because I'm looking at the girls. If you're wearing a nice statement necklace, you may catch me here. If you're wearing a nice lipstick that pops against a nude face, you're catching me here. So my first reminder is location, location, location. You decide where people need to look when they look at you. My second reminder is that is important because at the end of the day, it matters because at the end of the day, you have to think that people want to listen to the message and not be distracted by the messenger. And I can never get you to listen to the message if you are distracted by the messenger, if you are distracted by the stain that's on my shirt, if you are distracted by the girls that are popping out of my shirt, if you are distracted by the messy hair that I love, but that sits on top of my head, if you are distracted by, I don't know, a disheveled look, if you are distracted by a resume that you've presented to me that has folds in it, like you pulled it out of your shirt, like you pulled it out of, I don't know, like out of your pocket. I need to focus on the message. So the power of the first impression, and from when I think about people that want to level up, it is take all that psychology and use it to your advantage. So when you get in there, your goal is to get somebody to focus on the message. The first question out the gate in any interview is, tell me about yourself. We hate it. It's the worst question in the world. You're like, what do you mean? Oh my God, do I start when I'm a kid? Do I just do this? Do I repeat what's on my resume? Oh my God. But you will never get someone to actually tune into that message if they're busy thinking, oh my God, what's going on over there? This woman looks like is she sweating? Is she disheveled? There's a lot that goes on think about it, in the head of an interviewer, right? So I'm telling you, take all that psychology and put it to use. Be 15 minutes early so you're not running there out of breath. Make sure you have a nice leather portfolio that doesn't have any craziness on it. Make sure you go in there with a phone that isn't Hello Kitty, so that you go to turn it off and people are like, Hello Kitty? Like, is that not appropriate for, it's little things.
Sure. It does make a difference though. It does. I even remember interviewing people and that experience of being like, and it wasn't like you're trying to judge the person. You don't not hire them because of that.
You don't have to judge them. It's automatic.
But it just happens in your brain. We're like, that was a little off. That was a little weird.
And it's something that when you sit with the other three people who are interviewing, you're like, did you notice that she had so-and-so? It's natural. And I know we have to fight it, but it's natural. But coming back to your question, I think there are a lot of pieces that go into how is it that you level up. But I think the essence of it is you have to take the psychology of it and literally turn it on its head and be like, I know it, and now I can use it. And using it may look different for different people, depending on what their circumstances, depending on what job they're going for, depending on, what their disposable income is. Sure. But at the end of the day, you are sitting across from someone who doesn't know you, has a piece of paper. You are likely fighting against God knows how many other people. You've got to bring it. So bringing it means using all those nonverbal cues and being like, yeah, I got this. What up?
Hi there, friends. Jena here again. Let me guess. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not looking for any job. You're looking for the right job. And the right job is not at your current company. You're tired of feeling underpaid, overworked, and like your career is in the hands of the employer. You're ready to make some moves, but you're overwhelmed by all of the options, don't know how to sell yourself, and have a nagging feeling that your lack of confidence is keeping you from success, not to mention negotiating the amount you're worth. If this sounds like you and you're a mid to senior level career woman who makes over $100,000, we have the 5-step solution just for you. Our signature program, Recruit the Employer, is designed to help women leaders get clarity on what they want to do, market to their dream jobs, and negotiate thousands more. Using a personal branded approach, we equip you with the tools to sell yourself in a non-sleazy way, think like a C-suite leader, and ultimately take back control of your career. To apply, head on over to recruittheemployer.com/call. Over the course of 6 months, you'll network with other female leaders at similar stages, learn how to double your salary, and solidify your career story. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, that dreaded resume and LinkedIn profile, yeah, we do that for you. Because of the intimate nature of this program and limited spots, we're really very selective about who we invite into the program. To see if you'd be a good fit, again, head on over to recruittheemployer.com/call to apply today. I love that. So question for you, this is just more of a practical question. What are your thoughts? Let's say you have a really big meeting, or let's say that you have You're going in for a final round interview.
Pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Post-COVID. Let's just say post-COVID or pre-COVID, right? Just not in the midst of COVID.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, and we'll get to like what to do during COVID, but what are your thoughts around prints? I know that sounds like a very silly question.
No, it's not. It's a great question.
I think a lot of people are scared of prints or scared of color in the workplace. What are your thoughts around that? Because you were mentioned we want to draw people to where we want to draw them to. We don't want to distract them, but also if it's our personality, how do we not suppress that? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh my God, there's so much in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Again, I can literally go off into, you gave me 4 different topics.
I know, sorry.
The first topic you gave me was actually prints, but then the second is color versus prints. The third is how you utilize your style and kind of where you do and don't go with that. And then of course, the actual question of, do you do prints? So let me see if I can answer it as concisely as possible. I think the answer is this. The answer is that you can do prints, but there is a formula to do prints. I don't off the cuff recommend prints, but if you do them, there are some rules that you should apply. So they've got to be the right size to the print. If we're truly going with like a floral or an abstract print, it needs to be aligned with how big you are. So a little petite lady shouldn't walk in with a oversized print. Those two don't go together. Conversely, someone who is plus size, our curvier sisters, shouldn't walk in with baby prints because those are not sized right for her. So there is a proportion.
Interesting. Didn't even think about that.
There's a proportion to the print that you have to choose. The second thing I would tell you is that where you can, I would say, try to minimize the print. So here's the thing. If you have on a navy suit, and the navy suit is the first suit I'm going to tell any and every professional to get. Every professional.
Okay, I don't have that. I need to get one.
Navy suit. Black, no. You are not gangster. You are not Paul Bear. You are not a waiter. Kill black. It is all about a navy blue suit. I live in the most conservative place you could be. This is inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. The navy suit rules the roost here.
Wow.
Absolutely. So when you've got that navy suit on, yes, you can do a nice print in here. That print should have some white background and a touch of some other color that you like. I would tell you to limit yourself to probably 2, maybe 3 colors when you look at that print.
Sure.
And again, I would tell you not to let that print go all the way up the neckline. I would tell you to stop it probably right about where your necklace falls. So, think princess.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Your sternum. So there are some nuances to that. But again, you'll know that when we get into the closet, you'll know that when I get into your closet and we're actually picking your uniform. So I think the short story, if I can come back around to it, is you can do prints. I think you have to do it in moderation, because at the end of the day, while you may say, oh my God, personality is prints are my personality and I want to pop, you have to break people off in small doses when they meet, right? You can't just be like, what's up? This is me. You sometimes have to be like, this is me. And these are little pieces of me. Right?
Yeah, don't come up with neon highlighter outfit on.
And you can't just do that, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of it is really about breaking somebody off little by little. And I would say if prints are your thing, go for it. Maybe you do a print belt. Maybe you do a shoe that has a dark shoe with a print bow on it. Find a way. You do a print scarf and put it around your purse. There are ways to do the print without necessarily slapping somebody in the face with the print. But at the end of the day, start small and, get in first. And then be like,
what are your thoughts about color then? What's the thoughts about color?
So color is a little different, right? Because color is not print. Color is, you have to do color intentionally. What happens is, I think most women, and we're talking about women right now, not everybody, because men function differently when it comes to color.
Yeah.
But most women, when it comes to color, think that the answer is to just get color. So it's at J. Crew, there's a sale, and you have now bought the green cashmere tee, you bought the blue cashmere tee, you bought the pink cashmere tee, and the yellow one. Because you're like, ooh, I got color now.
I literally, as soon as we started talking about color, I immediately thought of Jenna Lyons. So That's funny.
Jena.
It's funny you
Jena
say big girl.
She's my stalwart. That is my girl. So I have no issues with Jena. But that's what we think of when we think of color. We went and bought 4 different colored shirts. So now we're ready. But the problem is that all you can really do with those shirts, depending on your wardrobe, is wear them with jeans or black.
Right.
It's not really color. So to do color well or to do it intentionally, I tell you to focus on 1 or 2 color palettes, and it's color palettes. So if hot pink is your thing, and I love hot pink, you will find that when I go to a store, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a good example. My base color is navy. My other base color is camel. And my 2 accent colors that I use all the time are red and hot pink. Red and
wow. I love that idea of having a palette in shopping. Because like, I don't really have one right now, to be perfectly honest. I'm kind of all over the map, but I love this idea of having a palette.
Exactly. So you're a little bit more along what I call style schizophrenic, but we'll talk about that later. Exactly. But I have those palettes. So when I go into a store, I am looking for, when I'm online, I'm like, oh, that's an awesome print. Does that print have some navy, camel, red, or pink in it? Because that is how I know I can bring it back home and I have multiple things to wear with it. When I go looking for color, I'm going to maybe look for, and I love cashmere tees. They're one of kind of the baseline things I think every woman should have in their closet. I own a hot pink cashmere tee. I own a navy blue cashmere tee, and I own a red cashmere tee. Those are the only 3 cashmere tees that I own, because I know that when I have that red one, I can wear it with the red plaid blazer that I have and my jeans and my red sneakers. I can also pop that with the red and pink shirt that I have underneath and let it pop with a pair of jeans. I know that I have a ton of stuff that I can integrate and use into it. So it's about creating a closet that has a conversation with itself. And you can't have a conversation with yourself if you have a rainbow in your closet. So that's very hard, because all you're going to do is you're going to be like, yellow. I have nothing to go with yellow. So you put it on with jeans, and that's all you have. You've now limited yourself, versus if you had gotten a color or a color palette that resides in your closet, you would have been able to go back and be like, oh, I can wear it with that. I can pop it with that. Oh, I can do that. I can wear it with that. And I can do that.
I love that. And it's simple too. So like when somebody is going shopping, like where are your favorite places to shop? Because I know that nowadays we have a lot of fast fashion. Love to hear kind of your thoughts around that versus finding some more quality pieces. I think that's helpful for women, because we do kind of have 2 wardrobes sometimes. We feel like we do, at least. We have our work wardrobe, and then we have our fun wardrobe. So what are your thoughts around where to find clothes, I guess?
Okay. So there were about 3 things you popped in there that I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to ramble for a minute, but hopefully I'll answer your question. I'll start with your question, which is, where do you shop? Loaded question. Horrible question to ask. It's horrible from the perspective, and I shouldn't say it's horrible. It's a hard question to answer, because it depends on what you're shopping for.
Sure.
It depends on who you are. So I'll give you this. There are certain stores that I love. I'm clearly an online shopper. In the age of COVID, even actually before COVID, I love online shopping. There's a real advantage there. But that said, once you learn your brand, and you actually have to learn your brand, so there's some trial and error, and part of that is in understanding your fit. Let go of the number. I will never be above a size 10. If they make it and 12 works for you, suck it up, do a 12. Get over it. So what I would tell you is, here are probably 3 of my favorite stores. One of my favorite stores is Saint and Sophia.
I've never even heard of that.
I know. No one has, which is great. I love Saint Sophia because they do small batches of clothes, typically about 100 of any given item. And I love the fit of it. I love that it is very much, again, small batch, because I'm very much into sustainable fashion. And I love the concept and the styling of the clothes, because it's basics with a little edge up. So I appreciate, and they do a lot of navy.
Your signature color.
There isn't a pant that they own, the pant that they make that isn't available in navy, which again is very hard because everyone in any brand in the US, all they're going to give you is like, it's a black pant. And you're like, oh, do you have it in navy? Navy is a very hard color. So I appreciate St. Sophia. So it's one of my favorite stores. One of my second favorite stores, I would tell you is, and again, take this with a grain of salt, is I love Shopbot.
Okay. I've never shopped on Shopbot, but I've heard of it.
So I like Shopbot, but I like Shopbot. Shopbot goes probably a smidge above the average, but they give you a pretty good mix of trendy, modern, some edgy, and you can find a number of great brands. So if you were to go on there and be like, I want to type in print shirt or print top into the search bar, you would get probably 200 different shirts. And they're 200 pretty good shirts. Lest you go to the bottom, that the ones who are like probably, and they do have them, maybe are like $30, $40. I'm never going to pay $30 or $40 for a print just because I know the quality I'm going to get. Prints, sure. When it comes to, you typically have to pay. You're going to pay the piper when it comes to a good print. So,
good to know.
If you think you're going to get a print on sale and you're like, oh, I got $30, it comes, you're going to be like, wow, that looks like a tablecloth. And you're like, you're right, because you can't own a cheap print that's really good. Doesn't actually happen. So so that's one of my favorite sites for that. It kind of covers a nice wide swath of stuff that you can look. And then one of my third favorite, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Oh, okay. My third favorite maybe would be, I don't know. I got to think of my third favorite. I got to have to come back to that.
That's okay. You can keep going.
Okay, good. You have to come back to that. And all this to say is that when you ask the question, kind of what your favorite stores, it really depends. So like jeans are very big. Mm-hmm. I know women who don't own jeans because they're like, I can't find anything that's right, which just boggles and blows my mind considering how many pairs that I own. But then I have women who are like, ooh, these are my favorite. And when I put them on, I'm like, those shouldn't be your favorite. I don't even see why, because they do you no justice.
Sure.
So when it comes to jeans, that's a great example. You have to tell me, before I tell you where to go and what jean to have, you're going to have to tell me, do you want to de-emphasize your midsection? Do you want to plump up your butt? Do you want to make yourself look longer? Do you want this to be a Saturday jean? Do you want this to be a jean for dress up? Do you want to be able to wear this jean? Give me all that criteria. And then I'll be like, oh, you know what? The AYRs are going to be perfect for you.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. And you're going to be like, what? And be like, try them on and do it. Now, that said, I do love AYR jeans. I make no qualms about it. Anybody that's listening, if you go to AYR, type in style 15. That is my code, and you get 15% off of any AYR jean. I love them. I love the shade. That is my perfect date night jean. I wear them with my sneakers. I wear them with my heels. They suck it all in. They make me look sexy, even after I've eaten too many biscuits. I love the shade. So, it just varies.
Yeah, it just depends. And that totally makes sense. I think that sometimes for people to even know, like, what's a fun place to start is a great option, just to give people ideas of where they can start to look for these staples, to look in their color palette, if you will. Yes. And then the other question that I had specifically was, you mentioned sustainability, right? So what are your thoughts around fast fashion and sustainable purchases? Because they typically are more expensive. So how do you navigate that?
I don't believe in fast fashion.
Okay, love it.
And I can say that unequivocally. We owe Mother Earth a lot. We have lived on her. We have taken her for granted. We have trounced on her. We've done her an injustice. And it's payback. And what that means is we need to re-up on this concept of sustainable fashion. And sustainable fashion, I actually offer an online class on sustainable fashion in my style school. But this ideal sustainable fashion, you can do it and you can do it easily. There are little tweaks and changes that you can make, quite frankly, real time that matter a lot. First and foremost, you do need to think about what are the sustainable brands that you want to think about. You've got to think about fast fashion. When I think of H&M, there's some stuff in there that I love. It's cute, it's funny, but I think, oh my God, you guys just made 20,000 of these t-shirts and you'll sell 500 of them. The other ones are going to get shipped off to Africa. They're going to sit in the landfill. They're going to clutter somebody's water. They're going to ruin, because cotton has all of these carcinogens. They're going to seep into the water base, and all you're doing is polluting somebody's water, all for the fact that you wanted a t-shirt that says, I am cool. Like,
yeah, hard. So hard.
Cringe.
Yeah.
Yes, it makes me cringe. So things that I think about sustainable fashion. It means you have to choose wisely. And choose wisely sometimes means that, yes, you might have to pay a little bit more, but that means you should be looking at things like small batches. That's why I like Saint Sophia. It's 100 of something. If we sell those 100, then we'll bring it back again. But 100 of something means that you don't have 500 that just sit out there, right? Look at Brunello Cucinelli, who I love, one of my favorite designers. Brunello Cucinelli took $35 million worth of inventory that he said did not sell, and is now packaging that up and literally sending them to households. He's like, because otherwise it's going to go in a landfill somewhere. Like, wow. There's an appreciation you have to have for someone that is that conscious. So when you think of sustainable fashion, it is wonderful. Implement some consignment. All of my high-end bags have been consignment. I've never purchased a high-end bag off of the Chanel in the Chanel store. I go back, and it's the ideal of not adding more carcinogens and not polluting our environment. I'm going back to take something that's already been gently worn or gently used. So I'm a big proponent of consignment and just recycling or upcycling. I mean, they're just little things that you can do. So I think at the end of the day, without going too far down a rabbit hole, because I can, sustainable fashion is very important. There are little things that you can do real time. And the beauty of it is, because I think a lot of people think, like, if I do sustainable fashion, I'm now going to look like I belong in a gunny sack. And not even. That is
a visual people do. Yeah. I get that sometimes, for sure.
It is. You're right. You're like, oh my God, am I going to look crazy? What are you putting me in? Like, am I going to have to go vegan on the shoes? No, you don't even have to go vegan on your shoes. I love leather shoes and I will wear leather shoes, but do know that the tanning process puts more pollutants into the water than I can tell you. So what it means is just that I choose wisely. I'm not going to buy I'm going to pay for my leather shoe. Typically it's going to be handmade. I love M. Jemmy. I'm going to buy a nice handmade loafer, and that loafer I'm going to have for the next 10 years. So we're done. You can check off the loafer.
Yeah. Done for what? It's the idea of not repeating, just purchasing and like overconsumption, if you will. It's being strategic with your choices. And when you have that baseline that you're talking about, and you're really being strategic with that personal brand, with that visual resume, you're able to actually be intentional with your purchases, which I think
is exactly right. Being intentional with your purchases, because at the end of the day, what you should be saying not only is sustainable, but is this aligned with my brand?
Right.
Yeah, that's a cute t-shirt. Is that t-shirt aligned with your brand as an upscale, feminine, chic woman? No. Why are you even buying it? Oh, terrible. I mean, like, you have to ask and answer, is it even style aligned? So I think they're just questions you can ask yourself that will make you choose wisely, and that will put you in a better position, not only with your style, but with Mother Earth, in my mind.
I love that. Monica, you've been so helpful in kind of breaking down the ideas around personal branding, around that visual resume, giving us some very tactical things and how to approach our wardrobe. How can people work with you? I know you got some fun stuff coming down the pipeline or starting already. So how can people find you, and where can they find you?
Oh my God. I'm just all over the place. I am everywhere. No, okay. I'm sorry. I've just had too much coffee already to start the morning, maybe. Okay. Let's see. So you can find me on Instagram at Blueprint, 4 style. So it is Blueprint, all one word, 4 the number style. And that Blueprint for Style is also how you can find me on Twitter. I don't know who uses it. On Facebook, on Tumblr, Blueprint for Style. That's an easy way. The second thing you can do is you can find me on my website. And my website is blueprint4style.com. So Blueprint for Style. And again, there's a contact sheet. You can always find me there. Always the easiest way. And then from there, we can have a discussion. But I will tell you this, the bar none easiest and best way to get to me with any and everything that we can do is to go to my Instagram page, and there is a profile link. And that profile link gives you every way that we can connect, either in my style school to take a class, in my new service that I am just launched, in just anything. You could go look at any of the articles that I've written for NBC most recently, just anything. You're going to find it in that profile link in Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, check her out. We're going to have her information in the show notes for you. And we will see you next week on another episode of the Recruit the Employer podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Recruit the Employer podcast. If you've been loving this podcast and it's been helping you approach your career in a brand new way, I have 2 shameless asks. Number 1, make sure you hit subscribe right this very second. That way you won't miss a single episode. And number 2, would you give us a review? Reviews help other ambitious career women like you know that this podcast is the place to be and helps the podcast climb to the top of the charts. Think of it as some good career karma. And as always, if you want to learn more about the topics we discussed today or are ready to take massive action and invest in yourself and your career, we would be honored to help you. Head on over to recruittheemployer.com/call to book your free strategy session. Regardless, we will see you next week.